So here's another Tara and I story. So I mentioned in a previous video that we had people when we go places. And one of our favorite nail salons that we used to frequent when we lived in another town, they were the ones that we could call and they answer the phone like, "Hey, Sarah." So just happened to be going to town today to run other errands. And my husband was like, "Hey, why don't you go there?" And I went, "Okay." And so I give him a call, and sure enough, they answer the phone. "Hey, Sarah." And I was like, "Do you have time for me today?" So we make the plans, and we hang up, and they call me back, and they said, "Just you?" And I was like, "Just me." So we get there, and I get settled, and I get the owner and the other guy, and they proceed to ask me how Tara's doing. And I'm like, oh, I gotta bear these news. They thought, because I hadn't seen them since late June, early July, something like that. And they had thought that she had had a stroke and she was getting better. I was like, oh. So I had to break the news of how it was going, and that was not fun. But it was nice catching up with them, and they wanted to hear all about her and her family and how things were going and get caught up, and it was nice. So while I'm there, I'm telling them about the last salon interaction I had, which was a couple months ago before mine and my husband's anniversary trip, because I didn't want to look a hot mess. And the gals in there, got my pedicure and sit at the table. The nail tech next to me is working on another client. She proceeds to tell her client, "Oh yeah, Sarah and Tara are hilarious. They come in here and they fight like an old couple, and people think they're lesbian." I'm like, oh my word. She's not wrong. She's not wrong. So here's the Tara and I story part. Last year for my birthday, it was a big one, we went on a cruise, and we originally were to go out of, we were originally going to do a Mediterranean one, and just with the cost of flights and everything, we ended up switching it and going out of New York. I didn't know it was a brand new ship. It was very nice. We had a great time. But we spent a couple of days in New York City before we went. She'd never been before. And we were waiting to go see a musical, and we went into Margaritaville. And I got a whole other story about that. A whole other story about Margaritaville I'll have to come back to. But as we were getting ready to leave, this lady was like, "Hey, are you staying here?" We're like, "No." She's like, "Come on over to this table." She's like, "I got some for you." So anyway, we got talked into going to a timeshare. Okay. So we go to this timeshare presentation. We are the last ones for the afternoon because they're like, "Hey, we'll give you a free cruise." Got the cruise, did not get the timeshare. However, they tried their hardest. And if anybody has dealt with salesperson to salesperson where they're like, "You know what, let me see what I can do for you," and then someone else comes over to come talk to you. So that's what happened. So Tara can tell I'm getting pissed. I am not happy because they're not taking no for an answer. And finally, the manager guy was like, "Okay, fine. Well, I'm going to send over this lady for, from our marketing team to do an exit survey about your experience." I'm like, "Okay, I'm happy to share." And she comes over, and she's an older lady. She's probably in her, she might have been in her early 60s or so. She's got a really thick accent, and I couldn't tell you where it was from. I'm going to say Eastern European somewhere, but it's a really thick accent. Bless her heart. She wasn't from marketing. She was there to try to sell us on it like one more time. And she apparently had missed out on the entire before conversation where we're talking about our families and how often we travel and all the other things, because she comes over and she's asking us about, how often we travel together. And she goes, "Oh, so you're a couple, because that's okay this day and age." And we're like, no, just friends. She kind of looked at us like, "Really?" Like, "Oh." And then there was another time, I don't even remember where we went, but for some reason I did not have my cane with me. I don't know if I walked out the door with it. I have no idea what happened. But Tara is about almost 3 inches shorter than I am. So it's a little bit awkward to like hold her arm. So I would just put my hand on her shoulder, with my left hand, and then I would have my guide cane in the right. And this one time I don't have I don't have my cane with me. And Tara's like, people are staring. She goes, we look like lesbians right now. And she's like, I don't know if I'm the butch one or if you are, or you look like the dom because you're hanging on to me and you're refusing to look at people. She's like, I don't know. But either way, people are giving us strange looks. So yeah, we've been asked a couple of times if we're lesbians, and we're like, no, we're not. And they're like, are you sisters? Nope, not that either. Like, we're just good longtime friends. So that's me and Tara.